Hi, y'all. My name is Nitika Chopra, and I am the founder of Chronicon. And today we are doing a Chronic Convo. Hi, everyone who's joining. And I'm so excited because today's Chronic Convo is actually going to feature a bunch of you. So we put out a little message. Hi. In our stories, and we let you guys know that we're going to be accepting a few of you on here. We only have about 30 minutes before the Chronicon videos get a little too long, but I'm excited to go for it. So I'm going to just start with this one person. Let's see how I accept you. Puja, I'm starting. What's about to happen? So a few of you already submitted that you wanted to join our live, and I'm really excited. Hi, Puja.
Hi, Nitika.
This is happening.
How are you?
It's so nice to see you. I feel like the vibe in the world today is so heavy, and so I'm so thrilled to be here with you. So tell everybody who's watching who you are and what brings you to the Chronicon community.
Hi, everybody. My name is Puja Dene. I am originally from New Jersey. I'm actually back in New Jersey during this quarantine with my parents and my brother and my whole family. I have been dealing with a chronic illness for most of my life. I've been dealing with obsessive compulsive disorder, which is an anxiety disorder. It's a mental illness that kind of manifests in depression, OCD, anxiety, kind of like all of the above. And this is actually my first time talking about it live.
Thank you for talking to us about it. I know what a big deal that is.
Thank you. It's actually been quite the journey. And I think, after having it for more than 20 years, I was diagnosed at 12, and I can remember symptoms from even before that, before I was 12. So I remember when I was like 7 or 8 and I had it.
Wow.
And I just feel like this time has been a lot about self-reflection, and I've been so grateful for that. And I know you post such amazing content on Chronicon and on your own Instagram. And it's been so helpful because this time has really been like a nice pause.
Yeah.
Although, it's horrible what's going on and it's hard to see that silver lining.
Yeah.
But I think it's really given me that time to pause and be grateful for the journey that I've gone through.
Yeah.
It's been
that. It's like both at the same time. And I think for Chronicon, we're never trying to hyper spiritualize or hyper, toxic positivity or any of that. But I think there also is this really real truth that both can exist at the same time, even while there is so much darkness and sadness. One thing I want to ask you actually, you were quite young when you realized and you got the diagnosis of OCD. And what was that like for you? Because I just know for me, like I'm Indian as well. And so just being a brown woman and in families, that don't necessarily understand, like for me, I had psoriasis and psoriatic arthritis, but there was a lot of emotional distress and trauma that came with that my parents just weren't really equipped to understand. So I would love to understand a little bit more about that part of your journey. Like, how did your family come to that, and how was that for you?
So that has been the hardest journey, I think. I coming from a South Asian background, mental illness has been a taboo, and it's very not spoken about openly. And so when I was diagnosed at the age of 12, I didn't really understand what was going on. I was in middle school, and I remember this because I was in 8th grade, and I remember my parents, I'd had symptoms for a few years at that point, probably 2 or 3, but none of us knew what was going on, right? There was people weren't talking about mental illness. People weren't talking about, self-love and self-care. And this wasn't something that was really that my parents were equipped with either, and neither was society, I feel. And so, you know, I was definitely blessed because my parents, instead of not, you know, not allowing me to explore what was going on with myself, they, you know, they knew something was wrong. You know, they decided to take me to a psychiatrist and to a psychologist, and they knew that I needed help. And I think that was really important because 20 years ago, you know, most, and I, you know, I'm not, most South Asian parents, and I knew some friends who also were dealing with certain things. It was, you know, going to the psychiatrist or going to a therapist was, there was so much stigma around it, you know, let alone there still is right now. But 20 years ago, it's just, it wasn't even heard of. And I think it was hard for my parents a lot, you know, to understand that this was an illness just like any other illness. This is, you know, like you can have, you know, cancer, or you can have a tumor, or you can have another chronic illness. And it's just as important. It's just as, it's just hard because you can't see it. It's not tangible, right?
Totally.
It's not like a broken arm or something that's so visible. It's all in my head. And so it was tough. You know, I think my parents and I kind of went through this journey together. And, you know, for me, I actually didn't talk about it for years. My best friends, my close family, like only my immediate family really knew for up until, you know, college. And, you know, that was a hard thing to keep inside for 10 plus years. You know, my husband found out about it after we started dating, and my best friend only found out about it a few years ago, you know. And so this journey has been, it doesn't happen overnight. And I think that whoever's going through a chronic illness or any, you know, any kinds of ups and downs, it's a process. And learning to accept that and knowing that, you know, it's not going to happen, you know, today or tomorrow. There is so much that comes with having a chronic illness, and you have to like really understand and love the fact that, you know, it's a process. The whole thing is a process, and I'm still processing a lot of it, you know?
Totally. Thank you. And there's a comment here saying that, you know, thank you for being so brave. And I have to echo that, because I think this is a really beautiful, important conversation. And the fact that you're sharing it with us here publicly first means a lot to me. So thank you for doing that. And
thank you
for helping us understand, you know, what it's like to deal with the things that you've dealt with for so long. So I so appreciate that. And
I wouldn't have wanted to share it anywhere else. So I really appreciate this community you've built and this platform, because it's so beautiful. So
thank you, sweetheart. Thank you so much for being here. All right, I'm going to say bye to you and then get our next person on. But I appreciate you, and I'll see you on the gram.
I'll see you soon.
Thank you, sweetheart. All right, so that was so beautiful. I absolutely love these sessions. Okay, so we're going to do Dr. Selvi. I know that you wanted to join us too. So our next Chronic community. Hi. How are you, sweetheart?
I am fantastic. How are you?
So good to see you. Because we message each other all the time, but I don't get to see you, so it's lovely to see you.
Oh my gosh, yes, likewise.
Yeah, so tell us who you are and what brings you to the Chronicon community.
Absolutely. Well, I am Selvi, Dr. Selvi. I'm a medical doctor. I've had Crohn's disease, though, for 24 years now. And cost me a lot along the way, is sort of the short version. So, you know, as another brown person dealing with chronic illness, I think my parents wanted to just sweep it under the rug, try and ignore it, you know, and I wound up having several surgeries, and I wound up having an ostomy for a year, and it was rough, and I was depressed and didn't want to deal with it, right? So going through all that, knowing I wanted to be a doctor from the age of 5, and push this tooth and nail. Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, Indian kid wanting to be a doctor, shocker, right?
I'm an Indian kid. I did not want to be a doctor. So that's
Smart
not for all of us, but I totally get it. That's awesome.
Yeah. And so just fought tooth and nail, right? Didn't listen to my body, didn't learn what my limits were, any of that sort of stuff. And looking back, no regrets. Like, I'm glad I went to medical school. I'm so glad that I learned everything I did. Helped me in terms of my disease. It helped me with communicating with my physicians and the medical staff and all of that sort of stuff. And now I'm in a position where, like, um, kind of fast forward a little bit, it took me a long time to finally get to remission. And it wasn't until I figured out things that worked for me, that I started being proactive and stopped being reactive. That's what it took for me to finally get there. And like, I lost my career. Oh my God, it was crazy. I was depressed. I lost my zest for life, which I am just a fun-loving, like, vibrant person. And so for me to be the shell of a woman was just like, was not me. Um, yeah, it was just really hard. And again, like, too cool for school, like, not going to have therapy, none of that kind of stuff it was just not going to happen, right? So I had to kind of figure it out myself. And thankfully I wound up, with really great support and was able to work through it. And finally I just had to, figure out how I could give back. And I realized that I'm a healer. I've always been a healer. And so now I work with people with IBD to help them figure out what works for them, because it's so individual. And that to me was the biggest blessing. Like, that's the biggest gift. Like, everything that I went through, if I can help someone to figure it out and kind of at least improve your quality of life and come out on the other side, like, oh, it just gives me chills.
Well, it sounds like, thank you for sharing all of that. And I love all the love in the comments for you. The real Spoonies Unite are shouting you out and your biggest fans, which is awesome.
They are such sweethearts.
They are such sweethearts. I know, I love them. But yeah, it sounds like the journey was like, having things happening to you, a lot of feeling the weight underneath the symptoms and underneath, the changes that are happening in your life, and how just dramatic and exhausting and awful that all is. And just trying to manage that influx of change and trauma is really how I relate to it. But then there was this turning point, it sounds like, that you started to become your own patient advocate, which so many of us have heard so many times, but that's like it in action. And you started, and so was there a defining moment, or do you think it was just like exhaustion from doing it one way and so then you start to do it another way, or what activated that for you?
Oh gosh. Honestly, I got to a point where I felt like there was nothing left to lose. Like, I hit my rock bottom. I was just struggling in all aspects of life. Like, I finally decided that I wanted to be a mother. And so I was on this IVF journey. And at that point, it was just like, I would do anything for making that dream come true. And that was what it took, was that desperation and that finally, like, I have nothing left to lose. Long story short, I don't have a baby, and I'm fine with that. I have myself, and I gave birth to the best version of myself, and that, priceless.
That's so beautiful. I love that so much. I really resonate with the whole, like, I hit rock bottom, and that's what I wish it was something like, oh yeah, like there was this big miracle and then a rainbow appeared and then all of a sudden everything was great. That's not the way it usually happens in real life. It's like, I'm alone on my bathroom floor and I am miserable and I'm in pain and I'm sad and no one wants to be my friend right now because I'm so annoyingly miserable and all of those things. And then we decide, okay, I think this is crappy enough that I'm going to try to make some changes. And of course, everything's different. It doesn't always mean that our body is going to respond or that we're going to have remission or, things like that. We always, tell people that everybody's journey is different and unique and important. But that's really powerful. Thank you so much for sharing that with us.
Thank you so much for having me. It means the world just to be here and to be sharing this with everyone. It's just, thank you so much. So much love to you.
Thank you so much. All right, I'll see you on the gram soon.
Bye.
All right, so that was so fun. I just absolutely love doing this. Okay, so I think I have time for one or two more. Oh yes, Real Spoonies Unite. Let's do it. I just requested you. Hi.
Hi, how are you?
I'm so good. I'm so good. I'm so happy to be doing this with all of you. So,
I'm
hello.
so happy you're doing this too. Hello.
It's so fun. So, tell everybody who you are and why you are a part of the Chronicon community.
Okay, so my name is Cassie, and I am one of the co-founders of Spoonies Unite, which is also the Real Spoonies Unite, and we have a podcast called The Real Life Show, Living with a Chronic Illness. And I am living with Crohn's disease. I was diagnosed with severe Crohn's disease in August of 2016. And I did natural treatments for, well, before I got my diagnosis for about 2 years and 6 months or so after that. And then I had a small bowel obstruction in May of 2017 and was hospitalized for a week and almost lost my colon and was able to save it with a lot of steroids and chemotherapy drugs such as Remicade. And I was on that for a couple of years. I have not been able to totally manage my disease since I got my diagnosis and before then. I'm currently on Stelara, and I haven't really gone symptom free for more than like maybe a day. Like that's a good day if I don't have symptoms for a day. I have a lot of nausea, a lot of chronic pain, joint pain. And so, yeah, that has really gotten me in touch with the chronic illness community. I'm super passionate about still being able to live a happy life. I'm a single mom. So I want to make sure that I'm teaching my son that you can still be happy and live your life no matter what.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it's been hard to find, community, people that understand. It can be really lonely out there when you say that you're so tired that you can hardly get out of bed. And people are like, just sleep more. It's like, no,
Yeah.
that's not it. And so I kind of searched for community and created one of our own, and we found Chronicon and you, Nitika, and it's just been so wonderful to connect with all these other people that
Yeah.
live with chronic illness.
That is such a powerful story. You have been through it. So thank you for sharing that with us because I know it's not always easy, although I know you do it on the Real Spoonies Unite, but
Yeah.
still, I think it's always a vulnerable thing whenever we share our stories. So thank you for
Thank
that.
you.
So I noticed in a lot of what you said, it was about like focusing on the joy and the happiness,
Mm-hmm.
and that even though it's really hard, you still can have joy and happiness
Mm-hmm.
in your life. And so, could you let us know like one of your favorite ways to activate joy or happiness in your day, maybe especially on a day that's really tender that you're having a
Yeah,
hard
that's
time?
a really great question. Yeah, so I have definitely had depression and anxiety throughout my journey. I honestly would say that my illness was the trigger for my depression and
Mhm.
anxiety. That wasn't an issue for me before.
Yeah.
And so yeah, it's really hard to live with sometimes.
Mhm.
On the days that are really hard, when it's like, how am I going to live with this lifelong incurable disease? How do I get through it? How do I keep going? One of the biggest things that I have found that I started to do was I just lay in my bed with my hot water bottle on my tummy, which is where most of my pain is, lights off, and I just turn on music. And I'll just lay there and listen to the music and just try to get lost in it in a sense.
Yeah.
Because at that point in time, it's really about just getting through the next like 10 minutes. And usually that can give me just enough oomph to be able to like get out of bed to go
Mhm.
make my son dinner or whatever.
Yeah.
Being a single mom, I have not really been able to like fully go to those places. I have to get up, I have to show up, you know? And he really helps me to be happy and find happiness. And I guess ultimately, I make that choice every day. I
Mhm.
just, it's so easy to be depressed and life to be really hard when you live with a chronic illness. It's like, it's really hard to make that choice to be like, no, I'm still going to laugh every day and I'm going to have happiness every day because the alternative is like too hard and it's too easy to get there.
Yeah.
So I think it's ultimately probably making a choice every day. And my
Yeah.
son really helps drive that for me, that motivation.
I love that. That's really powerful. And I think what I love about the suggestion that you gave of just really just being still and,
Mm-hmm.
and even if it is just for 10 minutes, because you do have obligations and you do have things that you have to get
Mm-hmm.
to, and that's just life for so many. Like, just being still, that's a huge one for me. Like, even this
Mm-hmm.
morning, there's been a lot of news about a lot of really intense stuff right now in the moment that we're in. And so I'm being a sensitive person. I'm just like feeling all of it. And the only thing I really do that really helps is just sitting right here on my couch and sometimes like turning off the lights and just
Yeah.
not pushing myself to feel differently, which we're so quick to doing.
Mm-hmm.
And then we can make the choice, like you're
Mm-hmm.
saying, that choice is there and it's super powerful, but not forcing ourselves out of what we're feeling, so fast that
Mm-hmm.
it's being stuffed down and then more sadness and more grief and all of that is just being laid on top of it. So I
I
really love
totally agree. I love that too. It's kind of
that.
like you can take that quiet moment and acknowledge how you're feeling and validate it. And then you can say,
Yeah.
instead of it just being like, push it away, it's, I feel horrible. Life is really hard. I need rest. I need quiet. And life is going to
And
have to continue at some point. But yeah, the quiet, I'm all about it. People need more of it.
yes, yes. Well, thank you
Mhm.
so much, Cassie. I'm so glad that you were here with us, and thank you for
Thanks,
joining,
Nitika.
and thank you for all
Thanks
the
for
work that
having
you
me.
do. Yeah, totally. I will see you on the gram.
Yeah, we'll see you later. Thank you. Bye,
Bye,
everybody.
sweetheart. All right, so I think we have time for one more person, which is very exciting. Let's see. Think. Well, I don't know if these people are on here right now. I know that there was one person that was on here earlier that wanted to join. Let's see. I kind of want to ask Love to Breathe to join, but I don't know if that's allowed because we did not discuss it. So I'm just going to ask her. And if she declines, I completely accept. I completely accept that because this is totally Instagram bombing her without any notice whatsoever. So let's see. This is live, y'all. This is what live is like. Okay. So I'm not sure if Summer is up for it. I'm gonna cancel it because I don't think she's up for it. If I was wrong, let me know, Summer, and I can try to add you. Let's see. Daria, I'm gonna go for you. Are you up for it? I don't know. You know what? I don't want to do that to you if you're not up for it. Let's see. Who else are we gonna do? Who wants to join the chronic chat? I don't want to. I'm afraid to like insta bomb anyone. Um, I know. I just thanks, Neil. I'm just afraid to do it because I don't want to scare anyone. Are you up for it? Should I do this with you? Um, let me see. Let me see. I'm gonna try. We only have a few minutes left, but hi.
Hi.
How are you?
Good. I
Oh
happen
my
to have a couple
God.
minutes, so
Oh my gosh. Okay, so tell everybody. Okay, well, first of all, I just have to say, Love to Breathe, Summer. Yeah, sorry that I tried to insta bomb you and get you on our Chroniconvo live. You can watch what this young lady and I are talking about, and then if we have a few minutes, I will add you. So tell everybody your name and
yeah,
why you're a part of the Chronic community.
my name is Neelima, or some people know me as Dr. Kunam. I've been following you for a while just because, definitely I have a lot of overlap when it comes with a lot of my patients that have chronic illnesses, and I didn't even know that there was an official conference and everything. So ever since I found out, I've been following.
Oh, well, it's so great to meet you. And I'm so glad that you've been following along. That's awesome.
Mhm.
And what kind of doctor are you? Like,
I
what do you
am
treat?
so I am a psychiatrist. So I went to
Oh, wow.
medical school, MD, and I prescribe medications. I always kind of
Mm-hmm.
clarify because everyone always gets psychologists and psychiatrists confused.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so I pretty much handle a lot of, I mean, psychiatric illnesses or chronic illnesses in itself for a lot of people. And then there's a lot of overlap with like the chronic fatigue symptoms and trying to
Yeah.
really figure out and not just blame it or couple it in with the depression, because sometimes it is very
Mm-hmm.
separate from the
Mm-hmm.
depression or the anxiety.
Yeah, for sure. And that's so interesting. And I appreciate, first of all, I appreciate you just like getting on live right now without any warning. This was not planned.
Yes.
So I really appreciate it. And I love that we have two brown girl doctors on our live today. I just think that's so awesome. I'm sorry, but I just have to say that.
Yeah.
And we had three brown girls in total, and just
Okay.
awesome chronic illness people. So
Yeah.
I am really interested in the fact that, like, you mentioned that there is this connection between chronic fatigue or, chronic illnesses and mental health as like a separate sort of comorbidity, if you will.
Right.
Is that something that, like, I know for me, I didn't even know that depression or anxiety or just my emotional health was so affected by what was going on with my body, because I had psoriasis and psoriatic arthritis. And so that's a bone disease, that's a skin disease. Like, no one ever talked about how they were connected, especially when I got diagnosed like 30 years ago.
Yeah.
So is that something that you talk to your patients about a lot?
Yeah, I think, one of the things, I think a lot of psychiatric residency programs are really helping us recently understand is that, we really are a lot of times advocates for our patients that have chronic illnesses, because it can be so hard to piece it apart that sometimes, doctors will try to say, hey, I think it's a part of this thing or some other thing. And I'm probably sound like I'm blabbering a little bit, but
No, it's
basically
fine.
that,
Yeah.
there's things we need to piece apart, because like, for instance, someone might say, like, I notice I have low energy, or I'm having a flare up of something of my skin. But at the same time, I also had this, really, stressful thing happen in my life. And I definitely feel like I'm getting depressed and I'm not my usual self. And I'll treat the depression and that gets better, but then other things don't necessarily get better. And so I will kind of be the advocate to say, hey, follow up with your PCP or your other types of doctors out there, like your rheumatologist or someone else, to see what else is going on. Because let's just not chalk it up to just being part of your depression. There could be something else going on medically. And I think, what we're learning too is that maybe there's some genetic components where some of these certain chronic illnesses are falling on the same gene or area as maybe in an anxiety disorder or depression. And so those are things that are going to be coming up, I think, soon, that we'll be able to see and have a better understanding.
That's really, really important. And I think something that I just thought of was that when I've looked for therapists, there's often a list of, like, I'm a therapist that deals with grief, or I'm a therapist that deals with trauma in a certain way. And so I wonder if, I think I might have seen some that say I'm a therapist that deals with chronic illness too. And so maybe that's something that people can look out for so that they can get the support that you're mentioning.
Yeah, I think there's so much new information out there and awareness now that we are trying to see, what does it mean and how does it affect you and your brain and your body with the chronic inflammation or chronic hormones that come with certain disorders that are affecting your body. And so I think that those different things are helping therapists to figure out, like, how can we help kind of specifically with those different disorders. And there's even I would say certain therapy or there's a certain interest in what it's like to have a chronic illness as a child. What does that mean? How did that impact you? And what does that mean for adulthood as well? Because that can be very different experience than like an average childhood experience.
Oh yeah, we could have a whole session about that. I know that's true. Well, thank you, Neelima. It was so lovely to meet you. Thank you for being
Very nice
open
meeting you.
to
Yeah.
joining my Instagram live. I was like, I don't know, what are we gonna do? And
Yeah.
you just so
I was
beautifully
like,
stepped
well,
in.
I'll just see. And I was like, well, you got like one possible no. And I was like, let me just see if there's something I could add. So
I know.
I'm glad
I
I was
really
able to.
appreciate it. I really appreciate it. And I know that the content's actually super helpful and I'm sure made a difference to other people watching. So
That's
thank you
great.
for joining me.
You're welcome. Bye.
Bye. All right. So I think we're going to call it. I think we're just going to call it for our Instagram Chronic Convo with our chronic community today. I want to bring on Love to Breathe, but we'll do that next time maybe. And yeah, I'm just so honored whenever I get to be with all of you. So thank you for being here. Thank you for being a part of this. The Real Spoonies Unite, you were awesome. And everybody, Dr. Selvi, Puja, like everyone was just so, so great. And I'm just so honored that we got to do this together. This was great. Thank you so much, y'all. And we are going to try to upload this to our IGTV so that you can actually share it. We didn't do that with the first Chronic Convo with our chronic community because I didn't really know how it was going to go, but I kind of regret not doing that for the first one because it was so great. But this one was awesome. Thank you all so much, and I will see you next time.